I'm gonna send us to Facebook, I think,
Here we go.
if we're lucky.
You'll have to teach me how you do this.
I'm not the person to learn from. I promise you.
Yeah, here we are.
Ask anyone. Good morning, or what's for lunch? Remember that saying?
My favorite question.
Yes.
Pizza.
Pizza. Is it pizza today?
It could be. I haven't decided.
For all who have joined so far, I'm here with Calisa Reis, and we thought to start off before, like while we wait for everyone, with just some fun questions that maybe you know the answer to, or maybe not. You ready for this? All right. According to NAR Member Report, how old is the average realtor in the United States?
43.
54.
Oh.
And typically female.
Ah.
Yeah. Of a realtor's business, how much was repeat clients in 2019 on average?
Percentage? 40%.
Not even close. Try again.
Higher? Oh gosh, you're not going to tell me. Oh, it's lower. 17.
15%.
Oh.
Of a realtor's business in 2019, how much was referral percentage?
55.
19%.
Gosh, I'm really off.
Well, I think that's telling, right?
Yeah,
I
totally.
mean, the fact that our clients aren't using us again is kind of problematic.
That's true.
Yeah. Okay, ready? Realtors with 16 years of experience or more, how much gross commission did they make in 2019 on average?
Gosh. In 2019.
Yep. They haven't released 2020 yet.
200,000.
$75,000 gross commissions.
Okay.
And this is the big one right here. Realtors with 2 years of experience or less, so technically a new agent, on average, gross commissions, how much did they make in 2019?
30,000.
8,900 gross commissions. Because the average real estate agent who starts out in the business might do one deal in 6 months. Right?
That's crazy.
Yeah. And our dropout rate's pretty terrible. Which brings us all here why we're doing this in the first place and why I invited you to do this with me. I'm just going to introduce us really quickly and then we'll get into the skin of it. Sound good?
Sounds great.
All right. My name is Shelley Zavitz. I'm a licensed realtor in Portland, Oregon for Dwell Realty. And I am the author of Your First 365 Days in Real Estate, which is a book for new agents that chronicles my massive success and failures all at the same time.
It's great.
Well, I can see pages say that. I'm also the founder of New Agent 365 Missions, which we'll talk about later. I am here with Calisa Reis. She is a licensed realtor for Haas & Company here in town, a new agent, and also completed the New Agent 365 course last September. So I'm excited to see how things are going. It should be fun, right?
Always.
The first year is a nightmare for most of us, so I can't wait to hear about your experience. Key takeaways that we're looking to send you off with in this hour is we're just going to talk about the actual experience of becoming a real estate agent as opposed to what we actually think it is. It's not like random hours and you can just work for whatever and make gazillion dollars, right?
It'd be nice.
We all think at first might be a good thing, but it never is. We're going to talk about operating your business like a business. We're going to talk about what it actually takes to start up a business in real estate. If you are a startup business, you need to act like it. So what does that look like? Callie did it during a pandemic. So I can't even imagine what that was like. And then we're just going to give you some key things that you can take away that you can implement today. So that's where we're headed. All right, Callie.
Woo.
Woman. How are things going? First of all, when did you get licensed?
I got my license in mid-August of 2020. So I'm coming up on 1 year.
Okay. And when you got your license, were you working like for another company, or had you like stopped that and you were like full on, I am a full-time agent? What did you do?
I was working for a corporate event planning company, and that industry really shut down in March when COVID hit the US. And I was on a furlough plan until July, starting in May. And I am not the type of person that just can sit still and not do much. I think it took me 24 hours to come to the conclusion that I wanted to study for my real estate license, and I went for it. And the more I studied, the more I was like, this is me. This is exactly what I want to be doing. And then, yeah, come September, I was full blown in real estate. I put in my notice at my job, and yeah, it was full steam ahead real estate.
So you were just licensed when you started with us then?
Yeah, because we started in September. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I don't know if I knew that. I think I thought you had already started at Hassan and then, interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
So that's exciting because you're basically with us like from day one then.
Pretty much, yeah.
That's cool. That's cool. Okay, yeah. So looking back at September, right, and how you felt about, did you know that you were launching a business? Like, did you have all that knowledge yet? Or were you just like, I'm going to be a real estate agent, I don't really know what that means yet? And then fast forward, tell us like how you feel about it now. Like what's the progression? What's the arc of those months for you?
Yeah, I really had no idea what I was getting myself into. I think I am a rare case where I came into the Hassan company, and as soon as my license went through, I had a listing go live the following day. So I had great mentors at Hassan that walked me through that whole transaction and held my hand, made sure I did everything I was needing to do. And I jumped right into your new agent training, and thank goodness I did, because that taught me everything. I mean, I learned a lot going through a transaction
I bet
at the start, but I mean, like building a budget, creating a marketing plan, building out a buyer's and seller's guide, like those were all things that I had no idea how I was even going to tackle that. So
right. So can I step you back to,
yeah,
how do you get a listing the first day of work? Because nobody, I have no idea what that could be like. Obviously, like even in my book, I talk about, I work with my first buyer, but it took me a month to get there.
Right.
So,
which is also super impressive.
But what was the relationship like with the person? Right. And why did they say, okay, this is a huge decision for me. It's a huge financial decision for me. You're my girl. How did that happen?
Yeah. I did a 2-part yoga teacher training starting in 2019 and then into 2020. And the woman who had done this had a yoga studio in the Portland area. And I spent a lot of time at her studio. I started teaching there right before the pandemic. And so she really knew all the things about my life and my personality and my work ethic and how I show up every day, and just kind of what my life goals are, all of the things that we dove into in a yoga teacher training, which is way more than just holding poses and learning how to teach. And through the pandemic, I'd spend a lot of time in her backyard, just, staying sane and having person-to-person contact in a safe way through the lockdown. And I shared with her how nervous I was about going into real estate and studying for my license. And she started asking me questions. And then 2 days before I got my license, we had a really serious conversation about for sale by owner versus listing with an actual
Mm.
agent. And I was like, well, here's the things I'm learning online in this training. I have no real world experience in actually doing this, but here's my thoughts, with no expectation of anything. And
Right.
it was just a friend to friend conversation
You're
and
just being a really good person in her life, right?
just
Yeah.
trying to help. Right.
Yeah.
And she, that day told me, I want to list my house with you. And I was like, I don't even have a license. I now need to go home and study until I die and take this test so I don't fail. Because she had a really tight timeline for when
Mm.
she wanted to sell and move out and do all the things. So timing was that was another piece of me feeling confident that I really stepped into an industry and a career that was perfect for what I was trying to accomplish in life.
I would imagine there was a lot of feelings around the fact that you were in charge of that. Like, did you have, I don't want to give you the words, was it fear? Was it anxiety? Was there a lot of things you had to get through while you were trying to represent her? Or?
Yeah, I think what I had a really hard time with was the lack of confidence in myself and my abilities. And I came from a previous job where I had been there for 5 years. I was established, I was training people, I was confident, I was leading things on my own. And I was very much so independent in what I was doing and felt confident doing that. And so stepping into real estate was like, okay, this is a real big ego check. I need to be humble in learning and accepting that I am not going to know all the things right off the bat. And that's okay. Nobody expects me to know that. But I think having that good balance of saying, that's a great question. Let me get back to you. I'm going to do some research and make sure that I give you the best answer, instead of just making up an answer to look a certain way. So I think that was
Right.
kind of the hardest part.
So would you advise a new agent, like somebody who's just getting licensed right now, just to say back to you what I think you said is having the right support around you. So what brokerage you choose, what managing broker, or I think on the East Coast they call it a BIC. Not super sure, but they call it something else. Like whoever
Sounds right.
helps you with that, because it's Lene always says you don't know what you don't know, so keep asking
Totally.
questions. So a lot of times agents think that they have to be solo, they have to know all the things, and that's just not true. You're actually not helping your client if you don't get the resources and the support, right? So do you
Yeah,
think that's one thing that you did really well is find the people around you to lean? Or
totally. I think the most important page in my buyer and seller guide is my team, and I work solo. So
right.
highlighting those people within my brokerage who have the years of experience and knowledge and want to support me and see me succeed is just the most important part of my business, because there are a lot of things I don't know, and there are great people that I at any point of the day, early morning, late night, can send a text off to and get an immediate response. So I don't know how I could have made it through any of my transactions without that support and feeling that support.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I experienced the same thing. It was just
Yeah.
like they just kind of circle around you and they're like, okay, if you're willing to do the work, that's the other thing too. If you're not willing to do the work, nothing's free ever.
Mm-mm.
You have
Yeah.
to prove yourself.
Yeah.
Did you know that 80% of agents fail in the first year?
That shocks me every time you say that. Yeah.
Why
It's
do you
hard to
think that
believe.
happens?
I I think for me it's like, how do you look at success and failure? Because if I were to look at my first 6 months of real estate, I probably failed more times than I succeeded. And I woke up more mornings doubting myself than I did believing in myself at times. And, to me, that it's like, how are you measuring? What is your metric of success? How you're measuring that? Is it the number of days? Is it the number of transactions? Because I just kind of had to get over that and start setting little goals for myself each week, showing up, right? For example, writing 5 thank you cards, or calling 5 people that I haven't checked in a while, or just doing little small things that it's not like sending 5 thank you cards is successful or makes me successful, but it's checking off things throughout the week that I'm like, okay, I accomplished what I set out to do. Now I need to think about what else I can do.
Right.
So yeah, how do you think about success or failure is, I think, the difference.
Did it change over time? Like at first were you like, oh, I've only had a listing. I can't even really say that, but most people be like, oh, I haven't had a transaction yet. And they judge themselves, right? Really
Mm,
hard. And then it's really hard to get up in the morning and do the little things, because we talk about, everyone in business really talks about this a lot, where what you do today is not really going to impact your business for another 90 days. So you just have to keep consistent laying the course, right? So if you were to give advice to somebody who might be kind of like beating themselves up every morning, obviously it sounds like you went through that. What mental things did you try to do to overcome some of that?
I think it really started turning for me when I started to lean on Hassan agents. So within my brokerage, I started reaching out to different established agents, just checking in on them, like, hey, I'm a new agent here. I haven't had the opportunity to meet you. If you need any help or you're going out of town, let me know, because I have the time and I would love to learn. And I would also just love to get to know you. So um, I think it helped me feel like I was kind of gaining momentum and gaining experience, even though I wasn't doing it on my own. They weren't my clients. I was still learning from all of that experience. And then the more situations and scenarios I threw myself into, I was able to look at things holistically without the stress of like managing a transaction or managing client expectations, and say, okay, if I were the agent going through this transaction, what kind of processes and documentation do I need to have in
Mm,
place? And so I started building out email templates, budget templates, um, yeah, just all the things, so that I checklists of, when I get in this situation of representing a buyer on my own, I need to know exactly what needs to happen, what documents I need to send out for signature, which then led me into listening to recorded contract trainings multiple times. And, contracts are probably the most dull training you could sit through.
yeah,
Not super exciting stuff,
no.
but I just printed out blank contracts. I was filling them in. I was writing notes, and then I started filling practice offers out. And
Wow.
um, yeah, I mean, and that's not exactly me being successful doing that, because I'm not making money. I'm not representing people, but it was laying this foundation so that when I did get in that situation, I was confident and I was like, here's what we got to do. And
Right.
my clients listened to me because of that.
Right. So what did you do with that? I'm imagining that there was self-talk there that's like, okay, I am focused on this. I'm building the blueprint, but I'm not making a ton of money. What did you do with that scream that was in the air? Were you just like freaked out about it? Or what was your perspective on the fact that you were in the middle of learning a craft, right?
Mhm.
So like, what did you do with that feeling?
Um, I try to show myself a little bit of grace. I mean, you mentioned I stepped into this industry in the middle of a pandemic, and then we jumped right into wildfire season where, things kind of
Oh
slowed
yeah,
down and
that's
shut
right.
down too.
That
And
was
then,
October, right?
yeah,
So
September
September
and
you had a
October.
listing, October you were in the middle of a fire
Yes.
in a
Yeah.
pandemic,
Yes.
trying to launch a
Correct.
business.
Exactly.
Wow.
Um,
Okay.
and then, to start the year, we had, that ice storm that came through, and I couldn't drive down my street. And it was like, I was like, okay, this is actually a great time to learn this industry, because these are all of the things that maybe an agent who's been in the business for 10 years has maybe experienced once of. And
Right.
here I am getting a crash course in 6 months of like all the things that could happen.
Right.
Um,
Have you been able
so
to close a sale within that time?
since when?
since you got licensed outside of the listing?
Yes, I have.
Cool.
I You're smiling at me. I by the end of August we'll have closed 11 transactions.
It's just remarkable.
Yeah.
I think that's incredible. The reason I wanted to bring it up, and I know that you're never going to toot your own horn, and I appreciate that about you because you are very humble, but out of all of that was against you. Plus you're trying to launch a business that 80% of agents can't do, and you'll close 11. It's incredible. And I just want you to like celebrate that a little bit because I see that you're not. We have to remember Mike Rohrig says, celebrate the successes too,
Mm-hmm.
So
Totally. Yeah.
What's your perspective on growth? So in Oregon, there's people that are joining us from all over the United States, but in Oregon, we're just allowed to open up pretty much right now.
Mm-hmm.
What's the plan?
Yeah, that's a great question. I have thought a lot about my marketing and how I can effectively market myself without having to spend a lot of money, because obviously as a new agent, you're not producing as much as you will
Yeah.
in years to come. And you still need to get in front of people, because that's your network is the most important part of your business. And so I've thought creatively about how to engage with people. During lockdown, it was phone calls and pop-bys, standing 6 feet apart from people, wearing a
Right.
mask, all the
Yeah.
things. And now that
Here.
things are opening, I'm
Yeah.
like, okay, this is great. Now I can actually get in front of people and go to dinner and meet people at my office, because we just opened up mask free a couple of weeks ago. So there's probably 90% of my office that I haven't even met, because we haven't had any in-person meetings. And to tie into my yoga teacher training and being a licensed yoga instructor, I am going to put on a free yoga class in the park in an afternoon with anybody. I'll send out an email, I'll send text, I'll post it on social media, to just bring whoever. Let's do yoga. You don't even need to be able to touch your toes to show up. Just show up and be with people, because I think for me, that's just the most important part, is creating community and building relationships and creating connection. And that was a really hard thing to do the last year. So I'm all for it now and ready to dive in.
So your focus is going to be on, it sounds like a niche. Is that your defined niche is the
Yeah.
yoga? Okay. Because those are the people that
Yeah.
are in your life that know, like, and trust you already, right? Is that the
Yeah.
plan?
I was doing virtual classes for friends and family, which was fun, that I had people from all over the US joining every week.
Cool.
And I was teaching yoga to people who have never done yoga before. And it was fun. It was like face-to-face time virtually, which is very weird. But
Right.
yeah, it was just nice to be around people. And that was really the only way to do it.
Yeah. Well, I'm excited for that. Let us know how it works out,
Okay.
the event that you'll do. And then, you know what I've been saying to people lately that like I've met in the last year is like I can actually see their teeth and their smile. I'm like, you have a fabulous. I have said that about 100 times now because
I
I'm like,
love your nose.
oh my goodness. And then back, they're like, why is that hole in your chin?
Where did that come from?
um, in the plan, are you going to purchase any leads at all? Is that your?
I, to be completely honest, have no idea how one purchases leads and how to do that and what that even looks like or how expensive it is, but it sounds expensive.
Right. So your goal is to just like work within the people that get referrals that way. Is the goal to be 100% referral or?
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely.
And
Yeah.
why? Why do you want to be that?
Um, because I want to build a business that is authentic to who I am. And in order to be authentic to who I am, I need people that I know, like, and trust and get along with. And to me, buying leads doesn't scream, I know, like, and trust these people. So
Well, and before in the green room, we were talking about safety, right?
True.
Do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, I am so glad I read your book because you talk about an experience that you had where, you're in an open house and you don't have any way of protecting yourself with pepper spray. The person that you thought you could count on to answer the phone in a situation like that wasn't answering, like all the
Still
things
upset
that
about
could
that.
totally happen.
Yeah.
Still not over it. People don't forget.
The bat line was not working, and that guy scared
Yeah.
me. He scared me a lot. So,
Yeah, totally. And I felt that. And it was a wake up call for me to think through a scenario like that because I also was not prepared. And I carry pepper spray with me whenever I meet someone new, whenever I'm in an open house. And I always tell my people where I am. Here's the address. This is the time frame. If I don't check in with you every 30 minutes or an hour, like call me. Um, so yeah, buying leads also sounds very dangerous as a young female in this industry. So um,
what makes you
yeah,
say that?
I just don't know if I can trust everybody. I I don't know. It just doesn't. I've seen posts on Facebook that I'm a part of within, this real estate industry, and people share stories of weird experiences they've had, warnings of people that have approached them. And I'm a person that errs on the side of caution.
Yeah.
So if I'm meeting somebody for the first time, if I can't bring my boyfriend or a friend with me, I hesitate because I don't want to put myself in a situation where I am putting myself in danger,
Right.
and I don't want to be on Dateline. So
No dateline. Got it.
yeah.
We train on that for new agent 365 missions. We are very strong in telling you that you need to do an intake. You need to meet at an office or a public place first before you go into a house. Please be careful, friends, especially if you just
Hmm.
got licensed. This is really important that you know that. Um, I'm always looking for new ways that like I can help guide our trainers, mentor in a way that is helping you right now, right? And the things that you're facing right now. What would you say, like looking back over this time that you've been licensed? What do you wish that someone had said to you a lot earlier, or that we're not talking about enough, that would have helped you? Well, I mean, you're doing amazing. So, but would have helped you even more, let's say, or maybe with your confidence or whatever. Like, is there something that we could be doing as an industry that better mentors new agents coming in an entry level?
Um, yeah, I think the first thing that comes to mind is providing feedback. I appreciate every time somebody is willing to take time out of their day to give me feedback on whether it's an offer that I wrote that maybe I missed a checkbox or put a date on there that wasn't a business day, or counted things wrong, just little things that I obviously have lots to learn. And any feedback, whether it's writing an offer or the terms of the offer, how I could have made it stronger, or how I can coach my clients to write a stronger offer in this market right now. What it would have taken to be the winning and accepted offer. I just think feedback is the most valuable tool to learn and grow. And feedback is a gift that people are willing to share with you, and it's not a criticism. And if you take feedback as criticism, like I think it's worth you shifting your perspective and being grateful that people are willing to help you and want to help you. Um, and I just think surrounding yourself with a network of agents who have a variety of skills that you can call in any given situation. If there's a question I don't know how to answer and it's around new construction, I rack my brain for, okay, who at my office does a lot of new construction? I'm going to call them and get
Right.
their input. So just knowing who these agents are in your brokerage and what they specialize in and how they're successful, because those are the people you want to lean on.
Right.
Yeah.
Because they're doing the thing that you want to do, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
they have a lot more experience and have probably come across the exact same scenario that I'm in a million times. So for them, it's like, oh yeah, you just write this into an addendum and it's easy peasy.
Right.
So
Why do you think that some agents are afraid to do that? Like what do you think would stop a new agent from just, calling up a boss lady like Val Thorpe and being like, "Hey, you know, I have a question about this." Like, do you think it's intimidation or?
probably. And I think it's been hard through the pandemic too to create meaningful relationships with people at your office because you haven't been face to face. So, it's hard to pick up the phone and call people that you don't know super well. But at the same time, it's going to come back around where you're going to be in a position probably one day where people might start calling you for answers, or I just saw you had a listing on this street, I have somebody that wants to list, how much activity did it get? So I mean, if you get over that and know that someday things will come back around and you're going to be in that same position, and how you approach that is how you should approach pestering other people for help and answers.
Right.
And if
So
you are
less of a
scared,
competitive mindset and more of
yeah,
collaborative, right?
yeah, and I think that ties into the brokerage that you choose to hang your license. If there's people at your office where you're not confident and comfortable calling, are you at the right place? Are these people really for your success and want to see
Mm,
you succeed? Um,
interesting.
so
So, like, do you think that your brokerage, like their values, should match what you do, or is it like a lot of people base things on splits? Let's just be honest here. Let's just call
yeah,
it what it is. We're like, okay, well, that split's really expensive, and I don't want to do it. But then they don't realize sometimes the amount of training that they're going to get based on that.
totally. Yeah, it's not all
So,
about the money. When, maybe that might be your perspective, it really depends on these people that are willing to answer your questions. And I see emails all the time through my company where people will ask a random question, or they're in a sticky situation and they don't know who to call. And so they just send out an SOS email. And it's so funny to see all of the responses. It's like everyone is on their phone 24/7 and they're like, oh, this is who you called. This is what you do. And then
right,
I'm reading all of these emails, like taking notes, like, okay, if I ever get into that situation, here's a good contractor to call.
right,
So people who are willing
interesting.
to share knowledge,
Is
super
really
important.
important. It really is. And I think that, again, like how many times I talk to many new agents ever since I released the book, it's just been like kind of a few a day now.
Mm,
And that question comes up a lot about, how do I find a brokerage? What should my splits be?
mm,
And it's often more focused on the number as opposed to what we should really be talking about is what kind of business do you want to make? Who do you want to be in the marketplace, right? What value do you intend to bring to that space? And is that something that you can really hang your hat on, be successful doing? And then, like Val Thorpe says all the time, if you do right by your client, the money always follows. So, I mean, as soon as she said that to me, I just stopped thinking about money. I was just like, I'm not going to worry about it. What I'm going to worry about is how can I best serve you today in this
mm.
moment? So when you were first starting out, did you meet somebody, did you have my mentor, Val Thorpe, in your ear saying, hey, or somebody like that? It's like, listen, this is about the client's experience. It's not about you, your paycheck, or what car you drive.
Yeah.
Who was it?
Tracy Hassan was a big
Nice.
mentor of mine, and he, used to train me one-on-one in private soccer lessons growing up. So he
Nice.
was always like an idol to me growing up. And
Did he play
I
for the Timbers in the end?
did he played for the reserve team.
And he was a coach for them, right?
Yeah,
For a
he
while.
also
Yeah.
coached.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Anyway,
super
that's off
talented.
topic. Love you,
Yeah.
Tracy.
Yeah, shout out to Tracy. Yeah. So it was nice to hear his experience. And the buying leads can be an approach for a lot of new agents to generate business. And Tracy was just super upfront with me. And he's like, this is what I did. This is how I approached launching my business. And this is how the cards just started to fall in my direction. And, I know you personally for years and I've grown up with you and I know this is the type of person you are. So this is how you should approach starting your business as well.
That's really
And
cool.
things will follow. And I was like, wow, okay, someone believes in me. Someone knows that this is how I want to build my reputation and my business. And I'm just going to go with it.
Right. I have that. Well, I talk about all the people that supported me in my book, but my coach was the big one where I was like, when everything was going wrong, I called her. And when everything was going right, I called her. And we it was just really awesome. And to know that somebody could believe in you when you don't really, because you're so scared. I was so scared. I was like, I'm so worried about making a mistake. We deal with a lot of money, and it was really nice to just have somebody who's like, you can totally do this. Look at your background. You can do anything you want. Stop it,
Totally. Yeah, you need those people.
You do.
I remember having that conversation in one of our meetings, and it was the conversation of like, what happens when you're in a buyer consultation or at a listing appointment and the potential client's like, well, how long have you been in the business? That question's going to come up. How are you going to answer that? You got to think through your elevator pitch of, yes, I've been licensed for X amount of months, and this is the industry I came from. This is who I am as a person. This is the team that I have working alongside of me. And this is how I plan to serve you. And I dreaded that question. I was like, right. I hope no one asks me. Please don't ask me. Please don't look me up. And finally someone asked me and I was like, oh, I've practiced this. I'm ready. Let's go. Let's talk about this. And at the end of the conversation, this amazing client was like, you are exactly the person I want to be working with. And I'm like, what? Yeah. I love it. Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah. Because they could probably see your passion, right? They can see your passion for who you want to work for, because you've already decided that there's a certain niche and a certain type of collective community that you want to participate in and help, right? And they probably are like, yes, finally someone that gets us.
Yeah. Found my people.
That's pretty awesome. It's hard to do. It's really hard to find them at first.
Yeah.
Yeah. I floundered quite a bit off the top there. Partly it was because I didn't know anyone in town. That was problematic, but
yeah, that I can't even imagine that. At least I had a network of people from my previous job and high school growing up here. So I knew a lot of people, but with that also comes a lot of competition because a lot of people have a lot of real estate agents in their network. So
yeah, I think it's on average 6. We all know 6 agents. And I don't know if this is still true, but this year there are more real estate agents than there are homes for sale.
Yeah, I've seen that stat.
So you have to be very clear about what kind of business you want to run, or
totally,
you're out with the 80%.
Yeah.
What tips would you give new agents to help them persevere? We kind of covered this already, but if you could name the top 3 things that you were like, I nailed it. This is, or even just one that it was like, because I did this, I feel very strong and successful. What do you think that 1 to 3 type topics would be? I threw that out. I didn't prep you on that one, did I?
I know, that's a good question. I just have a few tips that I have found. I've learned, some I've learned the hard way, and others I've been very grateful that I've put those practices in place. I think the first one is choosing your partners wisely. The lender that you are recommending to your clients is the person that is going to get you through the transaction. And if you don't know your lenders very well, or you don't know the lender that you're working with on a transaction, I've had situations where closings have been delayed, clients are really frustrated, and then that's kind of the taste that's left in their mouth as the transaction closes. And that really had nothing to do or reflect of your work ethic through the transaction. And it's just unfortunate that that is how things played out in the end.
But it will impede them turning to someone else and saying, this experience was so good that I'm going to refer Callie, right? So that's,
Yeah,
that's good
totally.
advice. What else do you got?
I love this one. Don't be afraid to create space on the phone when you're talking to a listing agent. So I obviously have represented more buyers than sellers as a new agent, and I've spent a lot of time making lots of random phone calls to listing agents to try to strike up a conversation and develop a relationship to help my clients get in and have their offer accepted. And I think the more relaxed and the more silence I allow for in a conversation, the more information that is bubbles up.
Because they just want to jump in and fill it.
Yeah. And if you kind of sit there and you leave like a second or two of silence intentionally, after they finish answering a question, a lot of times they'll start word vomiting some more information up. And maybe they only plan to tell you a little bit, but creating that space and allowing them to share more versus cutting them off and just getting to the point. Thank you. That's all I needed. Goodbye. I'm going to write this offer now. It's,
right.
How can you take that extra time to get to know these people and represent your clients the best you can?
Well, time out on that. So if you're going to, especially with inventory being so low right now, we're in 0.6 months of inventory in Portland. Are you saying that before you write an offer, you call the agent?
Oh yeah, always. And right after a showing, if I know my clients want to write, but they need some more time to think about purchase price, the terms, all of that, I will start striking up a conversation with the listing agent and give them feedback on how the showing went. And just let them know we plan to write an offer. I'll give you a call, depending on when the offer deadline is and when we're talking. But I usually call 3 times, 2 to 3 times before I submit an offer to an agent, just to make sure it's not some random email that comes through.
Right. So to build rapport? Or?
Yeah. And as being on, I've had the opportunity now to have 2 listings. And so I've been on that other side twice. And being the listing agent, I really appreciate the agents that take the time to call me and keep me updated. And so that I'm not just receiving an offer an hour before the offer deadline of like, who is this agent? Have they even called me? I take notes of all the feedback and who I've talked to and how many times they've called so that I can share that with my clients so that they know, personalities and who's going to be easy to work with, who's just in it to submit another offer and probably submitted 2 other offers this weekend. So yeah, I spend a lot of time on the phone.
So when you're, let's do buyers too. When you're helping a seller and this like random thing has been dumped into your inbox, but you have 4 other offers, like, do you say that to the seller? Like, what do you, you're like, I don't even know who this person is. This person, I know all of this, but I don't know.
Yeah. And I share a Google Doc with my clients of here's all the feedback so that you can track it live, who's calling, what people are telling me. But then when I do get an offer, I will always call the mortgage lender to see who these clients are, what they do for a living, how long they've been working together, just as much information as I can. And then if I have any questions about the offer, I'll pick up the phone and call the agent that submitted the offer. But people that work hard for their clients, it shows. And those are the people that you want to work with because they want to get the job done and they are passionate for their clients. And those are the type of people that you want to work with.
Absolutely. And it's really telling too, if you get a lender that won't answer your phone call and something happens later on in the transaction, even if they were the highest price,
right?
If they're not closing, that price doesn't matter.
Totally.
No,
exactly.
So the lender really counts. I totally agree. Okay, I totally interrupted you. What other points were you? I got on at a tangent. I'm sorry.
I love it. I think the last one is just being confident that my abilities translate into real estate. I think that was kind of a hard lesson I had to learn and go through is, believing in myself, and then also just knowing that people are going to want to work with me because of who I am and what I stand for and my work ethic, and all of those things are really important to people. And the years of experience don't always translate to people that are going to work hard for their clients.
Right.
And so coming up with that elevator pitch of who I am and how I want to represent you, it took me a little bit to muster up the confidence to pull that together. And when I did, I'm like, why did I even doubt myself? This is silly. So
Yeah. Did you practice it on somebody before you brought it in live on like with an actual client or?
I think I did. Yeah. My parents are super supportive of me, and every time I talk to them on the phone, they're like, how's business? What's going on with you? And I think I practiced that elevator pitch a few times to them. And then when I was finally asked the question, it was like, finally, here we go. Here goes nothing.
And I'm on. I love it.
So,
That's really good.
yeah.
I mean, preparation for everything. Like in the training, we do seller and buyer books because if you don't, it's kind of nice to have a crutch, right? So you bring up your buyer book and you're explaining the process, and you might not even really know it or have a good way, clean way that you're going to say that. So your buyer book is really helpful. And like, as you flip the pages to remind you of the things that you should say. And then by the end of it, it's just like, you don't even need it anymore, because it
Yeah.
comes out the way that you talk. This isn't a script. It's not what we're trying to do. It's just finding really concise ways to give valuable information to our clients, right?
Yeah, I haven't shared this with you, but when I went through the new agent training and took the pointers that you had given through that training on putting together a buyer and seller guide, and examples and how to put it together, I took those completed copies to my principal broker and reviewed them with her to make sure, I'm not making anything up. This all looks right to you. I know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And she, no joke, was like, wow, this seller's guide is spectacular. Like, do you mind if I collaborate on some of these pages that you've put together? And I was like, wow, look at me prepared. And
Yeah.
it was all because of the examples and training that you gave, that it was like easy peasy from there.
Well, I will say that there's 12 trainers, so it wasn't just me, but
Yeah.
we'll talk about them in a second. Um, Willing to share a failure that was like heart-wrenching?
Hmm.
Or was it like, nothing so bad that we all go through something where it's like, I don't know if I can make it past this. Did you ever have that in the last little bit?
Um, I haven't had a total heart-wrenching moment. I know it will come. But I did have a transaction where, we did our walkthrough of the exterior and the interior. They decided they wanted to write an offer. We write an offer. And during the inspection, there were foundation cracks that were discovered, and they're right out front in the front of the house. Like anybody could see them, right? And that wasn't even something that had clicked in my mind of like, okay, this is something that we should dig into. Let's write the
Right.
offer in a way that, we're protected if this comes up and this is actually a big issue.
Right.
Thankfully, the offer was written in a way that they were protected, and didn't have to cover those costs on their own if a repair needed to be done. Um, and it was a really difficult transaction where that 10-day inspection period, I think I had called 10 foundation specialists and 5 masonry contractors to come out and evaluate, and everybody gave me a different number. I was only able to get 1 foundation specialist out, and 2 contractors were able to pop by, and every number was different. It wasn't
Right.
even remotely the same of the work that they were recommending. And it was hard. I mean, I think that was the first time that I really appreciated how emotional of a transaction this can be for clients. And these buyers love the house, but they weren't willing to take the risk and not have this work completed. And contractors are booked out until, at the time this was May, and contractors were booked out until September to complete this work. And it
Yeah.
was just a lot. And I really learned the importance of really evaluating a property. It's not just like, how does the client feel walking through the house, which I obviously have more knowledge than that. But,
Right.
I really was like, okay, these are the things I really need to be paying attention to as
Right.
we walk through, to prepare the client, because we sat through that inspection report and they're like, yeah, and these foundation cracks. And I was like, oh, probably would have been good to talk about before the inspector came over to point that out. So
Right.
good learning.
Yeah, I mean, I have had a similar thing too, but I think that's what, it's the school of hard knocks a little bit with learning about structural issues. And the more that you spend time with that third party, like those people that we just talked about, like how good is the lender and the extension of your business. I mean, my foundation guy has taught me so much, even about how finding water by knocking on
Mm,
concrete. He's like, just listen. And then he showed me
mm.
how to listen to it. So now that I'm in there with my clients and I can kind of see that it's bubbled, and I'll knock on it. I'm like, hey, there's water back here. It's like, because I'm smart. It's because
Yeah,
he told
you
me.
are.
And the more that we can educate ourselves on other people's understanding that we're not contractors and we should always be referring to third parties. But, if you could get something ahead of time, but how would you know, right? If you had never met a structural problem before in a house, how would you know, right? So
Right.
letting yourself off the hook for things like that can be tough. Were you able to do it? Are you off the hook yet? Or are you still?
Oh gosh, no, I moved on quick. I
Oh,
think it
good.
was, yeah, I took the perspective of like, okay, this was a great experience. The transaction terminated and we moved on and got these buyers into a better house. And I learned a lot, and that's great.
Yeah,
And
good.
it didn't work out, but that's okay.
Fantastic. And they're probably in their right house now, right?
They are. I give them the keys tonight. It's going to be
Oh,
exciting.
nice. Post a
Hmm.
picture so we can
Okay, I
celebrate
will.
with you.
Yeah.
Last question for you is, what are you passionate about right now in your life? It can be anything. And how can we as a community support you?
I I'm always passionate about community and building connection. I think that's just one of the most important parts of life, is surrounding yourself with great people and, yeah, creating experiences that last a lifetime. And I am passionate right now, as things start to open up, to get together with people and be face to face and teach yoga. That is something that I've been missing a lot of. And though I do need to practice a lot of yoga, I also get a lot out of teaching and helping people through a practice of mindfulness and breathing and moving your body, all good things to live life. And yeah, I'm
How
excited.
can
I'm very
people find
passionate
you?
about that.
How can people find you so that they can learn to do this with you?
I will post this on my Instagram account. So my Instagram is Callie Sells Organ. Um, and I will, if I decide, we'll see how turnout goes in 2 weeks when I do this. And then from there, I'll just decide one off, let's do another one. Meet me here
Okay.
at this park.
I also cannot touch my toes, so this is going to be good for me. Christian
Yeah.
says on Facebook, 80% failure rate in the first year. That's crazy. And it
Hmm.
is. We need to find a way to support each other a little better than we are. All right. I just want to tell you a little bit about New Agent 365 missions. What we did was, because of the fact that we're learning that there is not enough support for new agents. Stephanie Chumbley and I went out and we found 12 trainers from all around the United States to teach on 12 topics that kind of give you like the basic foundation and the blueprint to start building on, because I'm a firm believer that everybody's business is a snowflake. We all are going to build something different, but we have to have these like main things. So we have 12 trainers, and if you go on to newagent365missions.com, all the trainers are posted there. I'm running out of time, so I wanted to talk more about them, but it is online. We start the next round on August 16th, and everybody has to be in and signed up by August 1st because we're going to mail you out some boxes and some materials that you're going to need. It is not self-guided. You have to show up every Monday morning for my singing that starts at 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time.
I miss
It
it.
got a lot worse, like a lot worse.
Oh my gosh.
Really, like, and you couldn't think it would get worse, but it did. The idea is that we're trying to build a community around you. So everybody that joins in for New Agent 365 missions, we have a closed Facebook group where we do live training. So it's part of it's recorded, part of it's live, and you can ask the trainer specifically of that week anything that you're struggling with. You came to most of our live stuff, didn't you?
Yeah, I mean, that held me accountable each week, showing up and accomplishing things.
Yeah.
It was great.
We have fun. I mean,
We do.
it's not like we're doing like brain surgery. We're real estate agents, so we should be allowed to have a little bit of fun. We do have fun, but we also need you to finish one mission per week. You're going to do 12 missions, and we have sponsors, and we just have a good time. So go to newagent365.com. You can sign up today. It is $100. And the reason that it's $100 is because we understand that a new agent is making $8,900 a year before taxes. So we want to make sure that it stays affordable for you. There's no upsell in there. Did we try to sell you anything?
No.
Yeah. I tried to sell a good dad joke. I did.
Or two.
Or two.
Yeah.
Did you hear about the restaurant on the moon?
I did not.
Yeah, great food, no atmosphere.
I love that.
Thank you so much for joining me today. It's really nice to catch up with you and
I
know that you're doing well, and I'm really proud of you. I really, really am. Because it sounds like you put your heart first every single time, and I love that about you. So
Well, thank you. You are a great mentor, and I don't know how I would have survived my first year in real estate without that book and your training. And yeah, it's worth it. If anybody listening has not gone through that training, highly recommend it.
you're the best. I appreciate you. Go kill it. I love you. Take care, okay?
Talk soon.
Yeah.
Thanks, Shelley. Bye.